This is the 5-minute sample for Romancing the Omega, Hobson Hills Omegas Book 3 by C.W. Gray. This is my 14th audiobook, and it released on June 12th, 2019. What a cover on this one! The guy on the right is looking at the muscular, shirtless man like, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." And, despite the unintentional hilarity of the cover art, this book is quite good. I think the best way to define it would be a burst of personality and charisma. And, although its relatively short length is perfectly fine and serviceable, it could have been longer, and I don't think anybody would have complained, because the writing is that good. A nice, well-established relationship between the two men sets the stage for a comfortable and gentle romance. And that's a very interesting parallel, because I did this book pretty much right after Sweet Nothings. And in parallel to how I liked the dynamic between the two men in that book, which is decidedly more hostile, at least in the beginning, this book shows that you can have the polar opposite to that type of relationship and still manage to make it interesting if you write it well. I'm gonna say that again. If you write it well. If you make them likable and have good personalities and they play off each other well. Like, that's all you need. And this also proves that if you establish the lead relationship in a meaningful way, you can make them out to have any emotions towards each other that you want. And your readers will resonate with it and enjoy it. And we've seen this countless times before in all manner of books and genres. If you have compelling leads, whether it's romantic leads or an ensemble or whatever, if they have compelling and dynamic personalities, then your audience is gonna like it. And you can do whatever you want with them. And that's really one of the joys of fiction. The possibilities are limitless, and anything can be worth reading or listening to. And pulling it off correctly like this book does makes the knowledge and understanding of that truth so much sweeter. Remember to look for that as an audience member or as an author yourself or just as anybody who consumes entertainment. If you're gonna be interested in these leads, really pay attention to what they're putting out and what you're taking in. Are they substantive? Is there substance to their words and actions? And if you look for that, then you'll find that your consumption of entertainment and the whole experience surrounding that will be a lot more fulfilling. And you won't feel like the things that you're choosing to spend your time on are wasting your time. So, that being said, I hope you enjoy this 5-minute sample. Chapter 1. Caden stared around the crowded bookstore. It was larger than it looked from outside. 2 large bay windows overlooked the cold, wintry streets of Hobson Hills. Inside, cozy reading nooks contrasted with the iced-over glass panes. There were several other seating areas throughout the open space, but Caden was drawn to the 2 next to the windows. The store was organized chaos with books, comics, and interesting odds and ends. The owner had created a children's section with books, toys, and kid-size seating. It was separated from the rest of the store by a short white picket fence. He even spied a closed-in play area for toddlers. He imagined busy parents would love to put their kids down in safety, then peruse the store on their own. Today was the opening day for the Bookworm, and it looked like most of the town was here to get a look. Zoe Wilson had convinced the new owner to go in with her to make a wide archway in the wall it shared with her bakery, Honey Buns. Now, on a cold spring day, a person could grab a coffee and Danish, then go buy a book. If they felt like visiting with friends, they could grab a table in the bakery. If they wanted more privacy, they had their choice of several comfortable chairs and couches spread throughout the bookstore. If he wanted to get out of the house and work on his next novel, this would be the place, surrounded by books and the smell of coffee and baked goods. "Caden, move your ass," Gray said, pulling his arm. "I want to sign up for the book club before it fills up." Surely there won't be that many people interested in a book club in rural Maine, he said, tempted to roll his eyes. Someone bumped into him. The woman's apology froze on her lips when she spotted the rabbit strapped to his chest like a baby. She blinked a few times, then abruptly turned and walked away. Huckleberry had convinced Caden to take him this morning. Sassy had wanted to sleep, and his Huck was lonely. The bookworm was pet-friendly, so he didn't understand why people kept staring at him. Gray carried his son, Rue, in a baby sling too. People were strange. Gray grabbed the sign-up sheet and held it up beside his smug face. There's 20 people already, Caden, so I'm signing us both up. They'll probably let you bring Huckleberry too. I can't believe you bring him everywhere. He shook his head. That is one spoiled bunny. Sassy sleeps a lot and Huck is a people rabbit. He needs to be with his person, Caden said, turning to scan the crowds. Gray replied back, but Caden didn't hear him. He didn't hear anyone. He didn't see the crowd full of Wilsons, Bensons, and more. All he saw was the angel at the register, patiently talking to a customer. He was simply breathtaking. The Omega looked Korean-American, and his black hair was fine and shiny, falling loosely around his face. His black eyes danced with humor as he spoke, waving his hands. His face had a pointy little elf-like chin, adding to the air of mischief that surrounded him. The man's eyes found his, and they seemed to stare into his soul. Caden panicked. He ducked behind the nearest bookshelf, breathing heavily. Huck wiggled his nose and watched him as Gray followed behind, frowning. What the hell are you doing? Caden ignored him, peeking around the shelf. The Omega looked straight at him, brow raised. Caden ducked behind the shelf again. Oh fuck. What was wrong with him? This wasn't like him at all. He was stoic, well-mannered, blah blah blah. He wasn't some teenager, hand pressed against his beating heart, trembling from seeing his first crush. Fuck. He removed his hand from his chest and ignored the pounding of his heart. Caden, who are you hiding from? Gray looked around the shelf. Why is the owner smirking our way? He ducked back beside Caden and stared at him. Caden, do you like him? Caden turned around, leaving Gray, and started walking down the aisle. If he ignored the situation, it would go away. That always seemed to never ever work. Fuck. A small figure popped up, right in front of him, startling him. A little boy, maybe 2 years old, stood staring at him. He had to be related to the angel. He had the man's eyes and his little pointed chin. He sucked on his thumb, eyes glued to Huckleberry. He held his arms up to Caden, eyes beseeching. Up, he said. Bun Bun. Link, what are you doing? A young girl scooped the boy up. The toddler ignored her and reached out, placing his little hands around Huckleberry's ears. His giggle was infectious. Sorry about him, she said, laughing. I'm watching him, but he moves so fast. Gray smiled. Hi, Summer. Hey, Gray, she said, trying to contain the wiggling boy. Hannah was just telling me about your ice skating trip. It was really fun, she said, blushing at the mention of Hannah. I only fell 3 times, but Hannah says I fall with grace. Gray laughed. This is my best friend Caden, and I guess this little guy is Link? Hannah mentioned him. Yeah, he's my nephew, she said. Is your brother the guy at the register? A link to purchase Romancing the Omega is in the description below. This title was a royalty share production, so I make 20% from any purchases. Thanks for listening!